Hello and welcome to episode 8 of TOMS. No, that's not a person's name. It is the Open-Minded Skeptic. I am here with my buddy Phil, and we're doing a show about some sauce.
Some sauce.
We
Some
love
old sauce. Hello. How are you?
I am great. I have a nice cup of coffee. You and I happen to be on the U.S.S. Enterprise 6. And this is awesome. We got to borrow this from the new captain of the Voyager, who's a chick that I hardly know.
I don't know her either.
But she was really sweet. She was like, look, we really like the podcast. Get aboard. We took Jerry with us.
Yeah, he's wandering around here somewhere.
Jerry, don't mess with them tribbles. But yeah, so we came together today because not only are we in this cool ship, but we thought it would be nice to discuss
a little history of the anniversary of Roswell that just happened about 70 years ago.
That's right. And that's awesome because I was born in the 7th month of the 70th year.
Okay,
so
really?
This is special to me just numerically.
Numerically, all right, nice. I like that.
So
777.
Let's kick it off. Episode 9, Summer Sauce.
Welcome to the Open-Minded Skeptic.
May you remain open-minded as you seek the answers to life's mysteries.
Welcome to the Open-Minded Skeptic.
Welcome to the Open-Minded Skeptic with your hosts, Phil and Sir.
Welcome to the Open-Minded Skeptic.
May you remain open-minded as you seek the answers to life's mysteries. All right.
Start off, please, by refreshing me with the whole Roswell story, if you will.
Okay, well, I got to give you a little history leading up to Roswell. And that's what happened was, seeing it was called the Summers, the Saucers. That's the official title that was given to it. Back in June and July of 1947, there was a huge amount of sightings on the West Coast. And one of them was a location called Murray Island. This guy, Harold Dahl, said that he saw something explode. He said it was some kind of a UFO or alien ship, and it blew up, and the debris came down and actually crushed his dog. So he contacted the U.S. military. I'm not making this up. This is the honest to truth. And they sent a guy to go investigate it.
Sorry, go ahead.
Fluffy. He said they sent a pilot named Kenneth Arnold. Now, when Kenneth Arnold was out there investigating, a lot of people might know his name that know about UFO sightings because he claimed to have seen 9 boomerang ships that looked like they were skipping like stones on water, or as he said, saucers across a lake. So the newspapers grabbed that.
Australian.
And that's where, I don't think so. Australian.
Boomerang?
Well, he said they were boomerang shaped. So they look like boomerangs, kind of like a flying wing.
Aussie saucies.
And I'm going to get into that. Yeah.
All right. Go ahead.
So anyhow, the newspapers grabbed that, and that's where the whole flying saucer thing came from, because he said saucers on
That's
water.
the origin of flying saucer.
That's the origin of flying saucer.
That's awesome.
So he investigated, awesome. And when he saw those 9 boomerangs, now between him and Dahl, they both actually got pissed off because the U.S. military didn't seem to care, and they thought it was a matter of national security that these things are flying around. Now, you got to remember, here's the funny thing. Nobody ever said space aliens. No. We were just coming out of the end of the war, World War II.
Yeah.
We were just going into the Cold War. They were really concerned that it was a national security issue because they thought maybe it was the Russians, or they thought maybe it was Chinese technology that was flying all over, the region in the Northwest, and was it? Yeah, the northwestern corner.
Yeah.
So he saw him near Mount Rainier. The Maury Island's not far from Mount Rainier.
Right.
And to back up the story of what Arnold saw was, believe it or not, a little prospector who was over by Mount Adams, which is another mountain just in the same range. And he said he saw the exact same thing. But now here's the thing. He said he saw the crafts disappear into the mountain, Mount Adams. And so I'm going to get into that
also.
I'm going to get into that a little later.
When I was out there and I saw that flying saucer come up. I wish I could have seen him. and we were paying for gold.
And and that's what's funny about it. That's probably where you get these, goober rednecks.
Yeah.
So that's probably where they're like, we're not going to use his story. We're not going to go with that guy.
Prospector Jim is not coming on the news today.
The Prospector Jim. But his story actually goes back to the exact same date or same time frame of Arnold reporting what he saw to the papers. So the military finally decides, all right, let's go and find out what's going on. They dispatch a B-25 to go to Murray Island to collect the debris that was in Puget Sound. So they pulled something up. They called it slag. It was some kind of big chunk of rotten metal or twisted metal. They get it on the plane. The plane crashes on its way back to the airfield. And believe it or not, if you guys are out in the western corner up there in Seattle area, you could go to the local museum and you could see the plane wreckage from this B-25. Yeah. So that actually exists. So, and the military never said that, it didn't happen. They just never said what that slag item was. And they said they never discovered it. They just found pieces of their wrecked airplane.
Right.
So, now, that all leads up. That's a couple of weeks before Roswell. So again, they were the national security aspect was: is this Russian? Is this Russian technology? Are they checking into us? Roswell happens now.
Roswell.
Yes, Roswell, New Mexico. What happened was, it was I just forgot my date because of course I didn't write it down in my note.
Baby.
But no, it was around
54?
July 5th. No, it was like the 5th of July or the 3rd of July. It was right around 4th of July time.
Okay.
That this rancher, Roswell, that was his name, in Roswell, he saw this this flash in the sky.
Strange lights
saw this
in the
explosion.
sky.
Yep. And his ranch hands and him went out the next day, thinking that maybe because it was a lightning storm. And they were afraid that lightning always strikes their cattle and sheep and stuff. And so they're going to go look for dead carcasses. And instead they come across this wreckage, this field of debris. And immediately...
And, I'm sorry, before immediate... And what's interesting about that and made me think immediately is the no funnies. You look like you're ready for something.
I'm waiting for another joke. I'm waiting.
Well, Steven Spielberg in War of the Worlds.
Yeah,
that's how they transported the aliens down. If you remember, it was lightning strikes.
Right.
I wonder if
in
that
the modern
was
version,
creative, the creative
licensing
on that puppy right there.
Maybe could have been. But. We'll get into that a little bit. We're gonna jump around a little bit.
I'm sorry, I keep going ahead.
No. That's okay. That's the beauty of having one of us prepared and the other one just sitting.
I'm just sitting here watching the show.
Questions. But anyhow, he doesn't know what they're finding. They don't know what they discovered. They call the sheriff. The sheriff calls the local military. Now you got to remember, this is holiday weekend. Now the bomber squad that they called, this was the bomber squad that dropped. The Enola Gay was in. That was they dropped the bombs on Hiroshima and Hiroshima.
Right.
So these are well-trained, top-secret military operation. They call them out. So these guys are all on holiday leave. So the only person there is this guy, Major Jesse Marcel, and he's, I believe, the information officer.
French.
What?
Is he French?
I don't know.
De Marcel.
No, I don't know. Yeah, let's go with that. He's French.
Okay.
But him and another officer go and check it out. And as soon as they get there, they realize they're not looking at their debris, meaning U.S. military equipment. So all of a sudden, the base goes into overdrive. Mm-hmm. They call everybody back. They had almost 300 infantrymen combing I think it was a 3 or 4 mile wide swath of land, cleaning up every little tiny piece of debris. Mm-hmm. And so they're on the hands and knees picking up everything that they can. So, again, the idea was that this is not alien tech from outer space, but maybe Russian tech. And they wanted to get it off the... Right, they wanted to get it off the grounds. But now what Marcel said... was when he got it back...
Not much, because he was a mime.
He wasn't a mime.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
He was not a mime. he when he got back, he's the one who said, we've captured a flying saucer, a UFO. So the newspapers immediately reported U.S. Army captures UFO, crashed UFO. They get it all back to the base. The very next day, the base commander issues a redactment saying, no, it was a weather balloon. And they put a picture of Marcel. This is a famous picture of Marcel squatting down in this office holding this like aluminum foil balloon-like thing and some pieces of balsa wood. Well, here's the funny thing. Everybody who saw this and everybody who touched this, and even Jesse Marcel's son, who was the major son, and again, this is 1947. There wasn't like a precedent to keep everything contained, and there was a little bit more, I'll show you what I got, but just keep it to yourself, secret type stuff. I think that's the way, again, that's...
And the reason being is you don't want to excite the world.
You don't want to excite the world, but again, we also trusted each other back then. Nowadays, if I talk to you, I'm hoping I'm keeping in confidence between me and you might be a blogger, and now you're going to put it up there, or you're going to run to somebody thinking you're going to get a paycheck out of it. Yeah.
Bicep implants.
There you go, exactly. I wish. I'd be big like Arnold. Not as strong, just
one day.
One day.
It's good to dream.
They're not tumors.
They're biceps. Self-inflated.
But anyhow, all these people said that what was in that photograph was not what they handled.
Right.
There was really 3 pieces of debris that really stuck out that I found researching this a little bit. One was like lightweight metal that was absolutely indestructible. They said that people come forward from the military. They said they shot at it. It didn't even dent, nothing. They couldn't burn it. It didn't get hot after being hit with a torch for like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Nothing. It didn't melt, didn't burn, nothing. The other was like a piece of foil, but they would crumple the foil up, and it would immediately, as soon as you let go of it, open itself back up and be perfectly wrinkle-free. It was almost like liquid metal. And third was these small I-beams, they said, that kind of looked like steel, but were absolutely featherweight. And they had like all kinds of hieroglyphics on it. And some people have drawn pictures. So you can find this stuff on the internet, pictures of it. A lot of people are privy to this. So this is the background of it. But again, nobody ever said aliens until Jesse Marcel said we got a captured crashed UFO. Then that's when everybody went crazy. Mm-hmm. The newspapers also went back to the
to the original.
That Kenneth Arnold story, and said, oh, we got flying saucers. Are they connected? Well, the government tried to, shut all that down. Even the president at the time. The president was just say, yeah, okay, you saw a flying saucer. Ha, we fooled you. But there was a huge concern. Again, like I said, the focus was that they thought they had Russian tech.
Right.
After thinking that it wasn't Russian tech, now they were like, we really got to put a wraps on this. Mm-hmm. So what they found, I don't know. But that pretty much leads up to it. Now, and here's a little thing about history, too. The military, these are the guys that dropped the bombs on Hiroshima in Japan.
Right.
So you think they would know what a weather balloon was, because they needed to use weather balloons to launch those bombers.
Yeah.
And yet, how can the guy who's a major not know what a weather balloon is? And the counterintelligence officer that went out there with him. Nah, I don't buy that at all. Because you know what? For 1947, I think that was standard technology. It'd be like you and I sitting down to a computer, and then all of a sudden saying, "Oh, I was in front of a computer screen, which was." All I had to do was put my hand on it and started like reading my mind. Yeah. It was mind op. And then all of a sudden they went, no, that's not what happened. It was just a standard computer. Apparently you don't know what a computer is.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
exactly.
A weather balloon in 1947 was standard instruments.
Yeah.
But, and again, now in World War II, they saw the Foo Fighters, which were these glowing balls that would follow the planes over Europe. There was also these things called ghost rockets, which were in Europe and Norway. And even the Russians were tracking these so-called ghost rockets. And it's the same type of thing. So
I never knew what a Foo Fighter was until you said that.
Really? You didn't know that?
Nope. I thought that was a stupid name of a band. I just thought,
a band, really.
What do you want to call us? Oh, the Foo Fighters. Sounds funny. FF.
It was Americanized, but it came from a French term, and I'm not even going to lie.
Marcel came up with it.
Marcel came up with it. During World War II. They were. I think it was like fireball or something like that. Foo for fire, and then the Americans just broke it down like, "Hey, foo, it's a foo. That's what it is. Foo fighter." The goober airplane pilot.
Yeah.
Like that. That was what happened with Roswell, and now. The problem with the government coming forward and saying that it was a weather balloon, people started coming forward. Now, again, 1947, people kept their mouths shut.
Mm-hmm.
The government sequestered people. This Max Broswell, the rancher, they basically held him they detained him for 4 or 5 days.
Yeah.
Until he changed his story and he retracted his story. Because originally he said it was a UFO, there was aliens, there was bodies. And again, they never said aliens. Let me rephrase that. They never said aliens. They thought they were circus freaks in the paper because they were only like 3 or 4 feet tall and they had huge heads. So they actually thought these were deformed people or deformed, maybe something the government was doing and made circus freaks. So again, aliens never came up. It was, but then after the government got involved and realized this was not Russian tech, it wasn't old German tech that's been back engineered. Because you got to remember, Project Paperclip, we took a whole bunch of German scientists to America from the end of the war. Mm-hmm. Warren von Braun being one of them, and he back engineered German tech for us, and he created our rocket program that got us to the moon. The Russians did the same thing. So the ones we didn't get, they got.
Right.
And so the two of us, that's part of the Cold War, was we were back engineering German technology, and we had their scientists to help us do it. So, again, once the government got involved, they were like, holy cow, this is not what we thought it was. We got to put a lid on it. And
when did the aliens finally come into play?
Well, here's the thing. It took years. It wasn't until Jesse Marcel in like 1972, I think, when he had lung cancer. And he just said, you know what? I've been carrying this around forever. He was basically forcibly told, look, you're going to lose your position, you're going to lose your pension and everything else if you open your mouth. So shut your mouth. And again, everybody in the community did the same thing.
That's when he became a mime.
By the government. The government forced him to be a mime, yeah. So, but in 72, he said, enough's enough. And he made a deathbed confession, and he went to ufologists and investigators and told them, look, here's my story. Here's what really happened at Roswell.
Right.
Well, because of the story of the bodies came out, the government said, no, it was a weather balloon. Then it was this super high-tech weather balloon. And then a third story came out, we were testing parachutes. These high altitude parachutes. Then in the 90s with Bill Clinton, they came out again and said they were again this parachute with these dummies, and they were high velocity drop dummies for an outer, like a edge of space drop. I mean, it was really crazy. And he's like, this is the last word on Roswell. Well, it's not, because more and more people who were there, and these are civilians. These are the entire community. It was, again, a little ranching town out in the middle of nowhere, New Mexico. All these people got involved. And like I said, we went from a handful of staff on a military base. Right. This was the most secretive military base, dropping the nuclear bombs. They were in charge of that. To suddenly everybody being called back from their weekend holiday retreat to take care of cleanup in a field. The community was basically house by house. They were like, you didn't see anything, you didn't know anything, don't say anything. Well, the coroner came forward. There was the city morgue coroner, and they called him up, and they're like, look, you're the mortician for the community. We need 4 or 5 hermetically sealed children's coffins. Do you have any of those? He's like, no. And then later he got on the base with like homemade ones. There was a nurse that worked on the base. It was a friend of his, and she kind of like told him what was going on. And then she ended up disappearing. A bunch of people from 47 to like 55, 60 disappeared under mysterious circumstances who started to talk. So they were really trying hard to keep this under wraps, but because people started coming forward, more UFO investigators got involved, that it got to the point where, like, all right, we can't just kill the community off. We gotta. So they start coming up with these crazy. Oh, it was a weather balloon. It was a high-tech weather balloon. So the stories keep evolving and changing.
What do you think is the main reason for that type of hush-hush? Do you think that they're worried about the mentality of the planet, or do you think maybe if we make too much noise, the origin of these guys are going to hear us and more will come?
What a great segue, Kev, because that actually goes into the second part where I wanted to talk to you about the evolution from Roswell, and that is just what you mentioned. I think it has to do... I think originally they were concerned because it wasn't what they thought it was, that it really put the ball in motion for the government to come up with the future of Project Blue Book. It started to have to answer the questions of, there are things out there people are seeing, now we got to start investigating. How do we approach this if these are really UFOs or aliens? So they started making all this protocol from this point forward. So the fact that people started to kind of question, and it probably took, and again, I'm guesstimating, and I'm doing this based on just my little silly research that I did, and just knowing the history. I think probably in the late 50s, the people in the community stopped scratching their heads saying, what the hell just happened? What did we really see? And they started putting two to two together. And again, during the early 50s and early 60s, all these B-rated movies came out, and it was the aliens are invading, the aliens are attacking. And that was Hollywood's cover for the TOMS, the Chinese communists, the Russians invading us. Chi-coms, that's what it was, Chi-coms. So by saying aliens from outer space, it was kind of like code for this is the Cold War coming to America. Be prepared. So I don't know if Hollywood was complacent in playing the government's game and doing that, or were they just like, all right, we want it? Because you got to remember, you also had people like Senator McCarthy who were rounding people up for being so-called communists. So how do you bring up something about communism or the fear of communism without being labeled a communist? You know what I mean? So it was a really weird time in the 50s. But the government, I think that was the thing. Now, as far as why would they cover it up, I think honestly they realized they don't want to scare people. They don't want people to be afraid. And even today, we don't want people to be afraid. We don't want people to panic.
Well, you wonder, is one of three things. Like you say, fear of panic, or the fear of being too loud and more will come, or number three, which is probably the dark and probably center of truth, which is, I'm kind of skeptical, but not really, and I'll tell you why in a minute. They're covering up something else that they've been working on for future protection and in a war scenario. So, like, this is a puppet show to hide out what's really going on.
And there's some of that thought too. That let's say. Let's distract the public with UFOs, and we'll bring out some of these really crazy people to discredit it. So you get, Goober Johnson come out, I was talking about aliens, and they pulled my backside. Well...
And when they laugh, they sound like Billy.
Yeah, so now all of a sudden, people who have, like, real incidences, who are normal, well-educated individuals, now all of a sudden they're going to go, oh my God, I'm going to be a laughingstock like that guy.
Yeah.
I'm not going to come forward, or I'm not going to talk about it. So some of it may be a way to discredit people. It also could be like Area 51, which is supposedly where everything went to, and
that's in Roswell.
That's in Roswell, or it's in Nevada. It's out in Nevada, but it's not far from Roswell. And then some of it went to Patterson Air Force Base. That's another big hub for this type of technology, supposedly.
Right. Area 51 is also a great song by Megadeth, if you ever get a chance to.
Okay, I'll have to listen to that.
Go ahead.
But the thing with Area 51 is that's where a lot of our spy planes, the U-2 spy plane was developed. A lot of spy plane technology came out of there. And again, I have no problem with the government having a secret base to do secret testing and skunk ops. I have no problem with that. I really don't. Because in the long run, it's to protect
the element of surprise.
The element of surprise, national security. It's to protect
that myself.
So I don't have a problem with that. And you got some people that are like, we got to have full disclosure on that. Open up the base. And I don't want to know that. I don't. I'd rather... But here's the thing. If they are back engineering let's say they really did find the crash. It's one of two things. They either found really exotic technology that's earthbound, and they brought it back to one of these bases, and they've back engineered it. There's no doubt about that. They back engineered it.
Right.
Or they found alien tech, really from outer space, and they back engineered it. Now, here's where I think we're at with this. The government's lied about it for 70 years to cover it up. They'll never come forward. If all of a sudden an alien comes down and says, listen, the mothership, from V or
ET,
but a massive ship comes down and it's there, and all of a sudden they say, hey, listen, we lost one of our scout ships.
Have you seen it?
You guys have it. We know you have it. We
Tell
got
me,
trackers.
have you seen it? Well, we flew around here 50, 70 years ago, and we haven't found it nowhere we go. Have you seen it?
You said, like in Independence Day, that's the movie was based on all this lore, because none of it can be proved. You got military people coming out and say, yeah, this is this and this is that. As a matter of fact, the base commander for, no, that's a different base. I'll get into that another time. But, you've got all these guys that come forward and say, yeah, this stuff was here. And they've tried to discredit these individuals because not more people have come forward. It'll be like one. And then 10 years later, another guy will say, well, yeah, he's right because I saw this, but I saw it at a different place. So then they jump on, well, he said it was Hangar 1. You're saying it was Hangar 12. Who's telling the truth there? You guys are both lying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why did the aliens leave and fly away? Let me get back to my point.
I'm sorry, my song is...
You sidetracked me. I was saying that if it is alien tech, they're gonna back engineer it and they're gonna militarize it. That's the bottom line. The bottom line is that we will not know about it. I was saying the aliens come down and they say, look, we know that the vehicle's here. And now all of the world knows aliens exist. They're there. They're intelligent.
They want their
The government still would not say it's us. They would just be like, you'd be like that kid in the background whistling like, hoo, I don't know.
I don't know. I was here minding my business.
They'll never admit it. They'll never admit it. And you got people screaming about, we need open disclosure. We need disclosure about the alien president. Here's where we are. You were asking about the evolution of this.
Yeah.
So that's what happened so far. And again, now we're at a point 70 years later. You've got people are more prepared for it based on movies and sci-fi writings and stuff. So I think as an individual, people will sit there and say, yeah, I can understand this. I'm prepared for it. I think originally the fear was it would ruin society. It would ruin religion because religion's always been the core of a society.
Yeah.
It's always been the fundamentals of right and wrong and keeping people on the straight and narrow path. And then that's where society built up around it historically. And they were concerned that this would, decimate all this because if this actually it would change everything. Well, I think if you talk to somebody, most people one-on-one would probably be, I have no problem with that. I think maybe they're trying to, here's what I think is going on. I think they're doing something they call soft disclosure, where you look at what's going on in the world now. Things are falling in place where, like NASA, for example, for the longest time, we all grew up, you and I are about the same age, we grew up watching Carl Sagan on TV, and there was this thing called the Drake equation. The Drake equation said, all right, we know how many stars are in each galaxy, how many galaxies are in the entire universe. So they estimated there's like 1 billion galaxies.
Billions
and Carl Sagan would say, the billions and billions. So if there's 1 billion galaxies, 1% of them have life, or solar systems that have life. And 1% of those have stars that have life, and 1% of those planets have life.
Recently, they found those 3 that are Earth-like.
Even more, 240. NASA's found 240.
That's a lot more than 3.
And they just recently announced that they found one that's about 400 light years from us. They found simple sugars that are the building blocks of amino acids that make RNA, which is the the building blocks of DNA. So they've sensed it, but the thing is, it's 400 light years. So if this is in its infancy, we're seeing 400-year-old images, or we're getting this from our technology. So there's still, probably just microscopic life going on there, if anything.
How fast are we going in this sucker right now?
What? No.
The Enterprise.
Warp speed. Warp speed is only like a quarter of light speed, I think.
So by the end of the show, we're not going to be able to
we're not
prove
going to
anything.
Even if we were able to go light speed, it would still take us 400 years to get there.
I got a couple Klingons.
That doesn't count, Kevin. You got to white better.
All right. I'm using this Vulcan paper, and there's a big line down the middle of it.
That's the problem.
You can only use 2 fingers at a time.
Yeah, 2 fingers at a time. I found that if you fold the paper in half, it kind of...
Oh, that's a good idea, Phil.
So you don't have that big opening in the middle.
That's the problem. Yeah.
That's exactly what the problem is. It's a little narrower, but it works a lot better.
VTP is a pain in the Klingon. But, so 400 light years away. Oh, there's Jerry. Hi, Jerry. Hey, thanks for coming out.
You couldn't find Data? Data's got his kitty cat somewhere.
Yeah. And Archer's aboard with his dog.
Yeah. Well, that's probably why he doesn't want to go play.
Yeah.
But they found this,
He took a Shatner back there.
A Shatner?
Did he?
No way.
All right, go on. I'm sorry. So...
saying. That's beautiful. I like that. A Shatner. I just went to the bathroom. Bones. Flush me with an enema.
Get the Klingons off me.
Spock, you need to wipe me better.
All I have is this Vulcan paper, Captain.
Captain, I don't get paid to do this. Just because I'm the science officer doesn't mean I want to see that.
Sensors show that you're Klingons. All right, we're farting around.
So the evolution. I think we're, like I said, NASA's announcing all these planets they're finding, and they just made an announcement that they think within the next 5 to 10 years they're going to confirm life on another planet. We're talking about going to. They think there's life in the Jupiter zone. On the planet Jupiter. There's 2 moons. One's Europa. The other one, I think, is Celius. I'm not sure about the name, but
these are names we gave it, of course.
No. These are real names. Yeah, these are real names. I've known about Europa probably about 20 years because I remember seeing a show that they said it looks like ice that breaks apart. And they think that now that we've gone really deep in our oceans and we found these heated vents in the depths of the oceans, 2 miles down, 3 miles down, whatever the depth is, but they're finding life forms living near these heat vents. So now the thought was, and this guy Richard C. Hoagland, he worked for NASA. He back in the early 70s, he was saying Europa's the place to go for life. So I remember this about 20 years ago, hearing about this. Now NASA's on board with that. Yeah, it's probably an ice crust. It's probably a couple of miles thick, but they're noticing that the crust keeps breaking, so they're thinking that hot water is being heated from the core and blasting up, breaking the ice.
And it forms back up again?
Yeah, because of the depths of space and everything.
That's so
but they
awesome.
see these like water spouts that almost look like volcanoes every once in a while. So it's really kind of cool. And now the thought that if there's life at the bottom of our oceans in the pitch black, lack of oxygen, and they're finding out that these creatures that look like crabs, they look like worms, they look like very small
they're neon.
fish.
You're talking about those suckers?
No, they're almost white because there's no light.
Right.
But because they live near these heat vents and they're living off of sulfur, and somehow the oxygen is either nil or almost nil.
Right.
So they've been able to modify their breathing systems and survive in these crushing depths because of the heat. So they're getting the nutrients that way. So now the realization is maybe that's what's going on there. And they think this other moon around Jupiter may also be another ice planet, a planetoid. So the idea of life existing is not a huge stretch. I think one of the problems we still have is what's going to happen with religion. Now, the Vatican owns the second most powerful ground-based telescope. Believe it or not, it's called the Lucifer telescope.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, I know. I thought that too. And it's kind of a play on words because Lucifer means the light bearer originally.
Okay.
It's modern Christianity, Western Christianity, that's taken the name Lucifer because he was the fallen angel. He was originally God's right-hand man, and then he became Satan, basically, or he was manipulated by Satan. So, but it's called Satan.
Go on.
So the Lucifer telescope is owned by the Vatican, and the director is a priest, and he's come out back about 10 years ago and made an announcement that finding intelligent life in the universe does not negate God. So the Roman Catholic Church technically is already preparing themselves for intelligent life, for some kind of a life form to be there. And so... And I kind of agree with that. And I think most people would feel that way, too, that it doesn't negate God, because I think it makes... we were always taught God created the universe, God created all the stars in the universe. Why would we be the only planet? Why, and now I think a lot of Western Christians in this country especially have taken this mentality of, well, yeah, there may be life in other planets, but they're demonic. Well, how do you know that? Well, because they don't know Jesus.
Because we drove them that way, too, in movies like Alien and all the others.
But if you think about it, how could they... You're projecting your morality and your religious views on a creature. You don't do that with ants. You don't do that with beetles. And they might not be anything more than that, just more intelligent. You know what I mean? They could be lizards. So it's the... And the thing about the lizards... / reptilian aliens that people have said they've seen, immediately they think of Satan being this like lizard or demon because of the snake. So I think that's another reason why disclosure has not happened more readily, because they're afraid that you got these really strong militant fundamental Christians who would not accept it.
Trump is an aquatic.
He's an aquatic?
Have you seen him?
He looks like a fish out of water.
Just want you to know. That's what he does.
My wife calls me Bubbles.
My wife, melanoma. I don't know. No, I don't know what I said in the Alien show, which is episode 6, if you want to listen to episode 6.
I don't remember either.
Come back and yell at me, but
we did make an announcement that this is one of these shows where topics can be brought up and updated. So,
and that's fine, but I just want to say that I think I might have said I didn't believe in them, but the more I watch shows like... And Gene Roddenberry has been in play lately because William Shatner and the story about Spock is on Netflix, and they're both talking about the history of Star Trek.
Yep.
And Gene Roddenberry's view of what could possibly be back then, because there was no, besides Roswell, there really was no, there was no Star Trek yet, basically, because he didn't put it out yet.
Right.
But I like his view. I like the fact that there could be a possibility, like way off, hundreds of years from now in the future, maybe even thousands, of a federation of planets. To me sounds perfectly normal for some reason. And you have your humans and you have your aquatics and your reptiles and your all that is brilliant. And I would think so, because you have the water, the fire, the this, the that. Even last night I was watching an episode where it was a lava planet and they had the power to make part of the world safe and inhabitable for Captain Kirk and Spock to go down. And that's the one where you have Abraham Lincoln and the Vulcan guy, Suroff, was there.
I never saw that episode.
That's episode... I'm such a dork. I know this.
Oh, boy.
Series episode 3 of the 3rd season. And I think it's episode... And maybe it was the 13th of the 3rd season, but... And I was thinking, a planet so hot that it's lava that you don't want to go... And they were going to discredit the planet altogether.
Right.
Shatner was like, but... Yeah, I don't think we should go on that planet because we'll melt like little poops. And Spock goes, but the planet has changed, Captain. One area seems to have opened. And all of a sudden, then comes Abraham Lincoln, because they took the form, this rock formation took the form of Abraham If you can don't swallow, it sounds like
I know,
that.
right. You're too excited. You're not.
I can't. I'd rather talk than live.
I gotta get all the words out before I catch my breath and swallow.
Because mine are important. Abraham Lincoln comes up, and that's what the lava formation became. Because we familiarize ourselves with that, and that is an honest person we trust,
right.
And blah blah blah. So it was a great episode. But anyway, I'm off track. But my belief system. We're going now to: do you believe in aliens? Yeah, I would think that would be a possibility. Whether they crashed in Roswell or not, I don't know. I'd have to go out there and visit and see all the stuff and then judge for myself. But it could have been the world's smallest basketball team.
I've heard two
bus wreck.
Two things to just try to disprove it. And again, I'm with you. I don't know what happened in Roswell.
Right.
There was some sort of a crash, and people saw something. What they saw, I don't know. I don't know.
Globetrotters and the Globe Trekkers. And the Trekkers were the 5 to 4 foot high basketball team, but they had the basket a lot lower.
I gotcha. So
saying,
a lot lower. Instead of the 10-footer, they had the 5-footer, so they could dunk it still.
Well, that's where the Fisher Price came out with that little
Fisher Price.
But yeah, then they disappeared, and no one knows what happened.
See,
to them.
here's my problem with the whole thing. I don't mind lore and legend. I have a problem when people start digging enough that they start finding these locations, and then suddenly they either become off limits or the area has been sanitized. So here's a good example. There's and I'm getting a little off topic too, but I don't know what happened in Roswell, and I do believe that there's alien life. I have no problem believing in alien
Same
life.
Here. Yeah, I think
and
there is.
I'm going to go one step further, but I'll get to that in 1 second.
Please.
Remind me. Here's a perfect example of what I was just saying about being sanitized. There was a story in Texas that a spaceship hit a water tower. I have no idea what town it is. Some people who are ufologists or you probably know what it is. But anyhow, he hit this water tower. It crashed. They found a body. The community took this little body, and again, they thought it was just a little pilot. It never came up that he was an alien. It may have well been after Roswell. I don't remember. But they buried him. They gave him a Christian burial. So the debris was put in this old well, and the farmer who owned it passed it on to his son, and now the lore continued. So again, people start hearing the lore. They start investigating it. The grandson decided he was going to dig up the well and try to reuse it. He starts digging in the well, and he finds little bits of metal here and there. But then all of a sudden, him and his wife get these diseases from touching the water. They got all kinds of problems on their hands. And there's photographs of these people with all these horrible lesions all over their hands and arms. And I think one of them died from like some kind of a disease that was like a cancerous type of disease. But anyhow, he closed up the well after that and kind of went away. Researchers figured out where this burial was, and they had an unmarked little grave, and they knew where it was. And then more and more people researched it. It became popular again, and when it started to get popular, people were like, "Hey, we want to go find the gravesite." Suddenly, that same researcher who found it back in like the 70s, he brought people in the 80s or 90s to go, and they went there, and the grave was gone. And they've done radar, where they drive the radar over it, and there was truly a grave there, but they could see it's been removed and cleaned out. Now, first of all, the community refused to when they started researching it, and they said, "Look, we want to exhume the body to see what this body is." The community said no, because it's a Christian burial. You're not going to just exhume it just because you want to do studies on it.
Right.
There's no real legal reason for you to do this. Then all of a sudden they go back shortly after, and the site's been sanitized, meaning that the body had been removed and it's all been reburied and everything, and they said the ground, you could see the ground was clearly disturbed and whatever was there was gone. So who would do that? Now, if the government did it because they wanted to hide it, again, this kind of like leads into that whole we got to hide this from the nation type of mentality. Was it the community who did it just because they don't want any more notoriety? I don't know. But again, the area was sanitized.
There's no bone structure in an alien. They're all just mush. So
I've
there
heard
would
that.
be no skeleton.
I've heard that. I've heard people have said that have had abductions. They've said that they have touched the aliens themselves, and they said it was like touching like a beanbag or like a sandbag. And they felt like they were mushy and without bones, or maybe just cartilage for bones. Some people have said that they even think that maybe like the Greys that are the common alien,
Big-eyed bastard.
they think that they might be like a bio-robotic kind of like the Terminator was, where it was like an exoskeleton mechanical device, but with like a skin, like a bio skin over it. And that's why they're so
Mushy.
well, not mushy, but no, like robotic in their thinking and processing, where there's no feeling, no concern, and which is strange too.
Another great movie is Paul. You ever see the movie Paul?
I loved Paul. Paul was hysterical, and I did. I really loved
It's
Paul.
a good movie, and
Yeah.
I need to get that. But I'm a big fan of Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, and the last one that they did together, where the aliens were on the planet. Oh gosh, the beer drinking one.
Beer drinking.
I own it, for God's sakes. Oh, it isn't out of this world. Forget it. But there's a movie that they did recently, and you haven't seen this?
No.
I wish I had the DVD copy. I gave it to my daughter. I have the Blu-ray copy, and yeah, I'll have to let you borrow it.
I don't have Blu-ray.
Thank God.
My Blu-ray, I do, but
Very bad about loaning out movies.
For some reason, my speaker system on my Blu-ray player won't work, so it'll only play regular videos right now.
Damn.
So, or else I could watch it without any sound.
It's a good movie.
I don't know what it is.
Hey, watch it with me one night. We'll have dinner or something.
But yeah, I think that, again, I think that the disclosure is going to be very slow.
Yeah.
And again, you're not going to get it from the government, because the government's covered this up for 70 years.
And they don't want to admit that they did it.
And again, they didn't want to admit that they made, the YouTube. Okay, they didn't know they made these skies, because again, they were trying to protect it from they didn't want the Russians to know what our technology was, the YouTube.
Right.
They didn't want them to know what our missile capacities were. So that stuff they keep secret, and I get that, and they'll deny it to where these locations are, whatever. But then stupid stuff, believe it or not, like Velcro. Velcro was made during the 50s in the for the space race and for the astronauts, but it wasn't until they realized, look, there's more uses than just a military suit, and the military basically was like, okay, reluctantly, and then that's how Velcro got into the general public.
CDs,
CDs,
computer
fiber
technology,
optic type, so this technology
plastic
started with the military.
Yeah.
And if the military said, look, there's strictly a military use for it, we're not going to release it. But if they say, okay, there's a bigger use, or there's a non-lethal use to it, we'll let it go into the public, or we'll. So I think right now, if there is an alien situation, I think the government is still keeping it under wraps, because they're still weaponizing it. I really do believe that.
Yeah, that's a good point, too. That's another corner I didn't touch.
Yeah, I think they're weaponizing it, or... And again, some people say that we are in touch with several alien races. They're keeping it under wraps, where the government's like, look,
like a Men in Black sort
it.
of situation.
Men in Black type of situation, absolutely, where the government's the only one who knows about it, and only key people in the government know. And this way, if the president doesn't know about it, it doesn't fall in his lap. So we're going to keep it like maybe lower level people.
Do you know how to find Will Smith in the snow?
How?
You look for the Fresh Prince.
Oh.
And that being said, that brings us to a close on on our episode.
I got a shower.
Any
I need a decontaminate.
Any final
shower?
Any final words on this puppy?
Well, yeah, real quick. I do believe that there's alien life out there.
Same here.
I don't know if what happened in Roswell was. I'd like to believe that it was an alien, and the government is keeping. And I'm fine with it. I really am.
There's a little Santa Claus thing to it.
Yeah,
for
there
me.
is. There is, and I don't. You know what? I don't have a problem with either religion or science proving that alien life exists.
And I don't think it affects religion that much, personally. At least with my beliefs, I would think that if God can create this, Why can't he create that? You know,
and it's a matter. Well, you know what it is. I think it's a matter of look. We're Roman Catholic, and the church, you know, took Copernicus and burnt him at the stake because he was changing the dynamics of the time. You know, say, hey, look, we don't revolve. The world, you know, the universe doesn't revolve around us. We revolve around the sun, and the sun revolves around other solar system spheres. Yeah. And that upset the church, and the church was like, no, you're. And then the more they kind of saw more and more scientists coming forward with it,
yeah.
You know, so it's first it was we live in a flat Earth, then it was we were the center of the universe, then we realized we're the center of our galaxy, our solar system. Now we're realizing we're just a small speck of it, and so it doesn't upset me one bit. So yeah. I think, unfortunately, you got, like I said, those militant fundamentalists. They're the ones that are going to take more time to convert. And again, maybe if let's say they made the announcement tomorrow. Honestly, God, aliens came down. They make the announcement. You're going to have people
free hot dogs come take a look.
Flip out. They're going to flip out. Will. You know, because look what happened in War of the Worlds with Orson Welles. It was a book. The people knew the book was out. He did it on the radio, but he made it look like
It was brilliant.
Right. And he had some people were like, okay, great, this is wonderful. And then you had other people
maniacal
flipping out. And that's something the government learned.
Just went crazy.
You know, and real quick, that's another reason why in Roswell, that was 10 years later. He did that in 39. Here it is 47. The government's like, look, we don't want another War of the Worlds episode. We don't want people freaking out and just shooting randomly at the sky, especially if it's our stuff. Let's keep wraps on this. So I think that's still going to happen, and it's going to take a generation or two of the news to set in before people start to evolve and accept and start, and their paradigms expand. So, like I said, we don't push our religious morality on any other creature on this planet. I heard there's almost 10,000 plus sects of Christianity in the world. So I honestly only could count maybe 20.
Think about it. 10 years ago, we only had man and woman. Now you got it all the way up to the letter Q.
Oh, my God.
That's another show, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, that's a whole nother show.
But we're having more alien species come into this planet.
And we're creating them on ourselves.
Yeah, that's right.
Is what we're doing. But, yeah, so my closing thoughts, again, were I believe it's there. We'll have to do even an ancient alien theories. We'll talk about that some other time. That'll be the next show, maybe about aliens. We'll
AAT, ancient alien theories,
and talk about were they here or not. So anyhow, that's it.
Before we get off the ship, and Jerry, please, we're gonna have to clean that up. Look what he did. He got a hairball in the corner.
Oh my goodness!
This has been great being on this Enterprise 6. I didn't know there was 6 of them.
I thought there was more too, but less. I don't know.
I just find it amazing that we were allowed to use this ship. We have to return it back.
I just want to get to Deep Space Nine because I thought that was the coolest one.
That is a cool one, but I always found it quite perverted, especially in the title. So what I'm thinking is we're going to have to take this back, and we want to thank you guys for listening. And we got a call. Hello. Can I ask what is this? Can you see on the screen what type of ship that is?
Kind of green and long neck. Is that a bird of prey? Is that what that is? Is that
sir? Is this a bird of prey?
We enjoy the taste of innocent blood.
Oh, yeah. We better warp the hell out of here.
Warp the hell out of here? What's going on?
Say your sentence quick.
Well, in that case, remember to always remind...
It's right there. We got Klingons on our ass. Would you read the sentence quick?
Okay. So, may you always remain open-minded as you search for the answers of life's mysteries.
They're firing on the ship.
Gotta go. Go.
All of Zerbinator's music and podcasts are under the Creative Commons license, which allows retelling and rebroadcasting as long as the author is notified and credited. For more great escape pods, please visit www.zerbinator.wordpress.com. If you would like to contact Zerbinatorland, you can send an email to instrumentally@gmail.com or give us a call at 571-408-ZERB or 9372.